So before I start, I just want to say, if you take things, especially people's words in a debate, literally, you might have, you might be socially inept. You know, this isn't me being mean, but, studies have shown that if you take everything literally, chances are you have a disorder.
Like, if I were to debate Andrew Tate, I'd like to do it on my own terms, where I, talk to him on my own time and not in the middle of my, news coverage. You know what I mean?
Still waiting for this.
Hold up. Anyway, Tate thinks he's lazy, just going around to each community, going on streams and recruiting more people. Yeah, I know. It's kind of weird that, everyone's kind of letting that happen and letting it slide. Do it. There are a lot of incels in Bucky's community. Oh, that's who that was who added me? Hold on. I'm trying to find their friend request. I don't know. Here, I accepted it. Just have Tate on your own stream instead of going somewhere else. Moderators can make or break. No, I'm gonna do that. I'm just gonna pop in and be like, listen, I'll have a conversation. You do it, but I don't think it's a good idea. If you do it, there will be a lot of insults from Clicks and Bucky's community. I think you guys are a little too afraid of. On your talking points are solid, but if you want body take, you have the masseuse present. Yeah.
What else?
Yo, I'm in here right now. I just gotta fix my camera. 1 second.
Yeah, you're chilling.
Hasan, let's go, man. I appreciate you, boss.
People that are excited for him to come are the same people that are going to vote to kick him out. That's just one thing I'm going to add.
Seeing what the chat thinks. The reason you're totally wrong saying that the world would have less war if there was no female leaders is because if you actually ask anybody who's been in the corporate world for long enough, the companies that have the most arguments, the most difficult corporate structures to deal with, in fact, even if you ask most women, they say, I don't like having a woman boss. I'd rather work for a man. When you have a whole bunch of women in charge, it's nothing but a fucking bitch fest and it's a shit show. Every single fucking person who's ever worked in corporate knows that. Every single person who's ever worked in the world knows that women act.
What Andrew Tate is referencing is that in the corporate world, there has been a lot of cases where women just ruin the show. It's women orientated and they just crumble and basically harass other women and men to great extremes. But there's a lot of cases where that isn't the case. But it does happen and it is reported mighty media. And that's why these are popular. I don't know how, what's the proportion of how many women they do it, but that's the opinion of some in those circumstances. That's one thing to add. Also, another thing to know is that these positions that these women take, that Andrew Tate is referencing, tends to attract very self-centered people and very self-righteous people. In other words, it's kind of like, Stalin, where they say they're for the people, but as soon as they get it, everyone that opposes their ideology, or at least challenges or tries to debate, get neutralized. It just attracts the wrong set of people. That's the problem. And they tended to be female because females were attracted to the ideology, which I think most of the cases were due to feminism and female empowerment. Women being career oriented and stuff like that in the corporate world. And I think Andrew Tate didn't mention this, but I like to mention it because it is what he was talking about, because I saw it too.
Actually, as beautiful as they are and they're good at lots of different things, they would they would prefer to work for a male boss because it's a stronger, more clear leadership structure. Having a bunch of women in charge of countries is not going to make a fucking peaceful world. And the fact you believe that shows your entire mental model's fucked. I'd like to actually put
Andrew's fallacy is that he generalized way too quickly. He didn't adjust for the variables and simply didn't care about them. That's his problem. And the way he's justifying is in his personal anecdotal, it has worked.
In the chat, and let's see who agrees with you, who agrees with me.
Why won't we take a poll in the chat? Of course, teenage boys are going to agree with your hyper-idealized manhood. Like, they need to cling to that.
I like his point. He's saying that, all Andrew Tate's fans struggle with manhood. I also want to add that in complicated subjects, the opinions of people tend to correlate very weakly to logic. So that's one thing to add. Like, if especially in something as difficult as gauging human psychology, female psychology, you can generalize it, but you can't specify it to like describe it under a circumstance and then predict the future.
Okay, do you guys want me to step in on this conversation or?
Let's go.
No, we're not gonna do no 2 versus 1 bullshit. We're gonna wrap it up with Tommy, and then you guys can go at it.
No 2 versus 1 bullshit? Yeah, you mean like the Aiden Ross stream when, anyway.
Hassan, I just
XQC
wanna
was
say,
getting
dude,
fucking triple teamed? Alright.
I didn't want that.
All right,
Hassan,
Tommy.
I'm just a messenger.
The entire group is already showing like insane amounts of bias already. They're already in that mindset.
Enjoy your time here.
dude, I did. Andrew, take care, brother. Hassan, I just want to say props to you, boss. I appreciate you, man, putting the word out there. Thank you, guys.
Good to talk, bro.
Have a good
Let's
day.
go.
Appreciate you coming on, Tommy. Have a good one, man.
Cheers. Thank you.
Wow, that was quite the conversation. How do you feel about my guy, Tommy?
Sorry, you asking me or the?
Yeah.
Andrew.
On my way to 19
I don't know him personally. I have nothing against him personally. He's a new age thinker. He lives in the new think, the idea that the way the world runs and has always run is a bad thing, and that if we change everything from the ground up, it's somehow going to become a magically better place. Obviously, he has no proof or any references for his way of thinking because it's never been tested before. It's an untested theory. I think that for him to come along and say such blanket statements that if we changed all the world leaders to women, there wouldn't be war is inane and asinine. I think for him to say that a man who's physically strong can't be mentally strong is also stupid. But I also understand why he's saying the ideas he's saying, because he has a natural insecurity based on the fact that he's not a physical specimen of man, and the way he gets around it is to pretend that that's not important, which is fine. Lots of people do it, right? Stupid people saying being smart is not important. Poor people saying being rich is not important. It's a common defense mechanism that everybody does, and I completely understand it. However, most people with a basic grasp of economics and the way societies work would look at society and say, you know what? A society with brave, strong men who are full of honor and duty is actually a better society than men who walk around saying, I have no duty to protect anybody or protect anything, and I can just sit around and cry all day. And this theory is being tested in real time, right? America's quickly turning into the latter, and we can see crime rates going through the roof. We can see all the fucking school shooting and all this stupid shit that's happening because men have no emotional control anymore. And that's what's going to happen. Is society's going to degrade, and the countries where men still stick to their honor and their age-old expected ways of acting, are there going to be a safer societies overall? So time will prove me right, but I have nothing against the guy. He's fine.
I think Andrew and the previous person that was on the call are just two sides of the same coin. They're both wrong, and they're both kind of right in different ways. But thinking that this has anything to do with gender is silly, all right? It has nothing to do with gender. Women can be just as oppressive and as brutal as men can be. Ultimately, it has everything to do with capitalism, and it has absolutely nothing to do with the gender. The assumption that women are going to be like hysterical across the board, that kind of generalization, is just incorrect. And that's why, Andrew, I've seen some of your work as you're doing the rounds on Twitch here, and a lot of the things that you said that you've been called out on, specifically in regards to like women driving, as a matter of fact, are just generally untrue. There's no empirical evidence to back up those claims, which is why you resort to anecdotes quite frequently and say things like, oh, well, it's just common sense, right? But it's not technically common sense. It's just your personal opinion.
Completely. It's my personal opinion based on my personal biases of my life experience. Now, when I say these, exactly. And when I say these things, X amount of people agree with me and X amount of people disagree with me. That's fine, and that's the same of nearly any statement in the world. Okay, but I can say the world is round, and there'll be a percentage of people who disagree with me. That's totally and utterly fine. I come on here and talk about my own personal experiences, and my experiences, men are better drivers than women. I'm not saying there's no good female drivers. I'm not saying
Exhibit A.
No. You're misunderstanding what I'm saying. There is a truth, and then there is your own personal experiences backed by anecdotes, right? Or your own personal opinion backed by anecdotes from your own personal experiences.
Backed by anecdotes.
Now, your own personal experiences
what is he
are oftentimes going to be incorrect
rebuttal
and not close to the reality. That's why there's an entire field of statistical analysis. That's why we do empirical. That's why
the thing about statistics is that they only tells us so much.
We all carry
most of it is really uncovered.
And
we have to accept that. There's limitations to even science and math.
Scope to grasp the entirety of the situation. We cannot comprehend it with our human brains.
Bro, Listen,
which is why when it comes to women driving, it's a funny point because the truth is different. The truth is the exact opposite.
No, listen. First things first. There's lies, there's damn lies, and there's statistics. I'm sure you've heard that from Mark Twain. That's the first thing. The second thing is that you're deriving.
You can massage, you can massage numbers, but
you're deriving your truth from an internet study. That's fine. You can derive your truth from an internet study on a bunch of different things. The truth of life is the truth that you experience as an individual. That is the only truth that we all live within. You live within your truths, I live within my truths, because these are the truths I've experienced as an individual. If certain things happen to you over and over and over and over and over again, but the truth on the internet says it's not true, that doesn't mean that your experiences are any less real. So if you come here and say the internet says X.
What Andrew Tate is saying is that reality can be skewed by statistics. There's a lot of references to that. But I don't want to go. I don't want to do it. You have to pay me to do that, okay? He's also saying that most of the time, your own anecdotal evidence and what you experience, it can be very valuable, even more valuable than statistics. He's not doing this all around cautious thing. He's just being action orientated because that's his personality. And if you look at him, it's most of his characteristics. He's also saying that you shouldn't let others just dictate what you need to think or change your perspective completely aligning to theirs.
No, your experiences can be real. You could be a statistical anomaly, as a matter of fact. You can be one of those people, but more often than not, more often than that,
hasn't been done before.
Because I keep letting you talk, and you're finishing your point, and I'm trying to talk. So
okay, go ahead.
I'm going to. The fact that you're going on the internet, finding some study and saying that this is the truth, especially after the age of COVID and all the fucking truth we were told with that garbage, you want to sit here and say, oh, the internet said X. I'm sure the internet did. I'm talking about my personal experiences, and some people agree with me and some people do not. That is perfectly fine. Don't give a fuck if people agree with me or otherwise. People are listening to me and they're either agreeing with me or not.
I know, but you're still wrong, and that's the problem.
I disagree with you.
Do you want to be right, or do you want to keep speaking into a hug box where people agree with you? And
quite ironic at this point.
Well,
but
if you
know
just
how it is.
completely devalue empirical evidence, actuarial sciences, the entirety of the insurance industry that relies on making these sorts of calculations to ensure that these quotes are as profitable as possible.
Do you mean physical
which ends
science?
up charging men higher rates than women, as a statistical likelihood that men are more dangerous drivers than women across the board and get into more car accidents across the board.
I don't know
if you're
why.
Going to look at all of that and say it doesn't matter because that does not correspond to my own personal,
the exact
my own
studies.
personal experiences, then you're
Despite
silly. You're being silly. You're being a silly person. If
one.
everyone thought like you did, right?
Maybe
we would have no scientific achievements on this planet. We would still be living inside of fucking caves. And now, as much.
I like how Hassan just says, you'd be living in a cave. You have nothing. The civilization would exist if people like Tate and just like had the entire control over the world. And you're ignoring Tate's success. You're also ignoring. Let me put it in a comparison. There's a lot of bad people over the course of history that have changed and improved the lives of everyone.
Much as I love Liver King personally, I don't think that that would be a good planet to live on. I'm pretty happy for, I don't know, all the medical achievements, all the scientific achievements
Hassan's
that we've reached.
Entire
and
strategy
at the heart of all of that, all of those accomplishments lies an understanding of arriving at the truth through empirical evidence.
You done?
Yeah.
Cool. In my personal experiences, all of the car crashes I've been involved in, all the times my car was hit, and all the negative experience I've had on the road, women were at fault. That is, now you can sit here and say the insurance claims say that. I never said the insurance claims don't say that. I'm saying that I am not comfortable with women driving because of my personal experience. Those are my personal experiences. You can drag up all the empirical evidence in the world you want to try and drag up. Anyone with a brain knows how that aids the world agendas anyway. I don't want to go too political on a stream that's going to get taken down. Mm-hmm. So I'm not saying that I can't find a female race car driver. I'm not saying that.
That's not what I'm saying either. I'm not talking about like statistical anomalies. I'm straight up talking about
Statistical
overwhelming
anonymously.
amount of
What
evidence
is
that
what
suggests
is the
that women are more
reference in
careful
this?
drivers than men.
Bet he
Okay?
pulled that shit out
And
of his
therefore
ass.
better drivers
Saying
than
at the
men.
moment that
Now,
he said
You
that,
keep resorting
he
back
probably
to
didn't
your
know
personal
that.
anecdotes.
You probably couldn't prove it.
So let me walk this. Let me walk.
That's
you
what I'm
through this,
saying.
Right?
Brother,
Do you agree? Do you agree that human beings have biases?
do me a favor. Do me a favor.
Okay.
I
But hey,
What
I
is,
respected
you
your
know,
time.
Tate is
Do you want to
being
answer
very
my question? Do you
anecdotal and
believe that human
saying,
beings have biases?
this is my experience, this is how
Absolutely, we're
I
all
view the
biased.
world.
Okay.
I'm not saying
Do you
everyone
think
should
that
have
those
my view.
biases might cloud
I'm just
your
saying
judgment?
that this is what I want
It's
to
not
be
about clouding judgment.
Not
speaking
just your
about.
personal
This is
cloud-
what I
Not
believe.
just your own personal judgment. Do you think our biases
Hassan
might
just
cloud our personal
goes
judgment?
on and on
every
of
single
just
person on earth is biased,
rhetorical
and there's no
Absolutely.
non-answers.
That's absolutely true.
Don't really say
Okay.
much.
So if you
And just
if you
silence
agree
his
with me on
opponent
both
rather
of
than
those
anything
accounts,
else.
you understand that your anecdotes, your own personal accumulation of information, is going to be clouded by your own personal biases. So you're not going to be
That
able to
applies
assess the
literally to
information
everyone,
adequately in the
including
same
me and
way
you, Hassan.
that empirical evidence would. This is
My friend.
precisely why we look at data rather than make arguments around
Data.
wait, let me finish. Come on.
Save the children.
Just-
But this is
Think
precisely
Think
why we do
about
that.
the
We've
children.
like 5 times here.
God
Everyone's saying
bless
kick you. You're mulling the
America.
point. You're saying that the empirical evidence is saying X, so it doesn't matter what my personal experience is. That's fine. My point is, let me change it. Let's say that the empirical evidence says that a pit bull is more likely to bite you than a Dalmatian. But in your life experience, every time you went near a Dalmatian, it bit you, and a pit bull never did. Are you going to go up to a Dalmatian still completely and go, oh, it's fine, completely unbiased because the empirical evidence says X when you're covered in scars? No. You're going to say, Dalmatians bite me for some reason, and I'm not comfortable around Dalmatians. That's called human nature. Okay. So I'm telling you my personal experiences.
Andrew Tate is basically use your pattern recognition and notice patterns in your life. If something bad happens, if you do that certain thing, something bad happens, you probably should not do
Actually,
it.
I grew up in Turkey.
Have some sense in your life, Andrew
Tate
Tate
says.
says.
Woman driving, and if you actually ask most women, if it gets late at night, or it starts getting dark, or it starts raining heavily, or the parking gets difficult, they usually ask the man to drive themselves. I know many women who do that. They're not offended by my assumption. I know loads of women who go, oh, I don't want to park, you park it. Loads. There's not a bad thing about it. Who gives a shit, right? It's not even a big deal. You've come on here deciding you really want to stick up for the chicks, and maybe, one of them will drive over to your house. It's cool. We've got
Also, the
better
fact
things to
that
talk about.
females,
Look,
the
let's be
males'
real.
lives are
I don't think I need
different.
to be,
Females get treated
male
differently, and they
feminist
act
to be able to
differently
attract the women,
because their
okay?
lives are differently.
However,
So they're
having
going
said
to
that-
tend to
having
do
said
things
that-
less, and they're going to tend to do
Funny
things more,
implication.
just on the
Having said
basis that
you
their
are
life is
failing to
different than
recognize
males.
What I am trying to say. I walked you through these steps
Seven.
slowly but
Evidence.
surely.
Right.
The thing is, the Dalmatian example that you gave is great. Why is it
true.
great? Because you are creating now a hypothetical scenario in which you want your opponent to concede. I can do the exact same thing and say, well,
What
in
the
my
fuck,
personal
Hassan?
experience,
What the fuck,
Dalmatians
Hassan?
never
Not
bite.
everyone
or
is
pit bulls
trying
never
to
bite, whichever one you
manipulate
thought
you.
was the more
Holy
aggressive breed,
shit.
right? In my personal experience, what if in a million times that I have bred pit bulls or been around pit bulls, not a single one of them has ever been aggressive? We will never be able to arrive at a meaningful solution or a resolution to this conversation.
I fucking
if we're
will.
both operating
I see an
on
animal that
personal
is built
anecdotes
like a
and hypotheticals.
little tank
That is not how you
with
can
big
conduct
jaws and a big head.
appropriate debate.
He runs 25 miles per hour. I'm going to perceive him as a danger if he's docile or not. Look at his teeth. It's called common sense. It's called nature.
I'm not operating on biases when I talk about women driving. I'm talking about the empirical evidence. I might have personally thought women are worse at driving than men as well. But once you arrive at, once you look at the evidence and you realize that said evidence suggests something else, you're probably not going to continue believing the prior thing that you believed, right?
We went
No
over the same
shit.
point like
This
5
is just
times
more
already.
rhetorical.
I know, but
than
it's just weird because I can't I can't break through Andrew's
I understand your point. You're saying that even if I
walls
thought
here.
We're losing the girl.
No, exactly. I want to talk to her. He's saying even if I thought women were worse drivers, I've seen the empirical evidence, and I'm so smart that I ignore my own eyes and ears.
The
and believe
girl
what the
has
internet
left.
tells me. That's what he's
That's
come
not
along
what
to
I'm
say.
asking you to do, my friend.
You're double vaccinated.
I was about to say a
It
joke.
all makes sense to me now. You
Never
believe what you're
mind.
told to believe. You don't believe your own eyes. You don't believe your own years, and that's what you're going to sit here and talk about empirical evidence that you found on Google. Cool. If you believe everything that's on Google, that is your prerogative, my friend. And if you think that makes you sound smart in the modern world after the 3 years you've just been through, to say that I read a piece of paper that tells me to believe X, so I believe X, and I ignore my own personal experiences, and you think
I'm
that
not
makes you
asking you to ignore your own personal experiences. I'm simply asking you to look at the data.
Hassan ain't
So let's change the
saying
subject. because you just proved your
anything.
point.
Okay, Andrew, do you believe? Well,
He's
I didn't.
picking the most. He
you
doesn't
didn't
have
really
an
prove
opinion.
anything, but it's cool. Do you believe the Earth is flat, or do you believe the Earth is spherical, round?
Do you believe in God? Oh, what do you mean about God?
I'll be a
Oh, we could
Oh, you took the
subsidize
headphones
the
off?
rhetorical
He gets very
meaning
stressed
of
sometimes,
God.
Yeah, yeah, it's cool.
Low
It's
grade
important.
reference.
You know, sometimes you can't take the heat.
Renegade.
Sometimes you can't take the heat, so you gotta get out of the kitchen a little bit. Andrew, do you believe the Earth is flat or round, spherical, globe?
Round.
What?
You believe it's round, right?
More
But when you walk
condescending.
outside,
You notice
it
how
feels
Tate
like
isn't
it's
really
flat.
condescending? He
Well,
just
brother, and
he
It
just
looks
takes
flat,
jabs
it
on
feels
people's
flat, but
character.
you
He
believe
should
it's round. Why do you believe the Earth is
demasculinize
round?
them. That's his strategy.
Because
Hassan
I
is
have
being
personal
condescending.
experience that would prove to
Tate
me that.
is masculinity.
Oh, you have personal experience. What happened? Did you go up to the fucking moon? Is
Well,
that how you figured it out?
Exactly. I flew up into space and I looked down on Earth and
Yeah.
I saw a big circle.
That's crazy. Okay,
down there,
you don't have to.
look
Hey,
down there.
That's
listen, you don't have to
crazy. Let me
concede on that
Google.
point, but I think you and I both understand the importance of scientific, the importance of empirical evidence in that one, right? Or you know,
I bet even
Science.
Hassan can't trace
And I
back his
thought, wow, this
logic.
guy, wow, okay, he's gonna ruin the stream. We had a hot chick. Now
oh,
you're
did
here.
you? Is that what you thought?
Just chill out. Like
It's
I
a
don't wanna
little,
argue
wait,
about
so what's
this.
up? Is it a little bit more difficult when I'm
Honestly,
not like
losing the
the
chick was probably the
traditional like
biggest downgrade of this debate.
SJW looking person? Is that why it feels like the stream is a little bit more ruined?
No, it's not difficult. As a professional, I'll tell you the conversation we just had.
Yeah, you, dude, you've been kicked in the face and stuff. Like, I'm sure you can handle little old me.
Exactly. So I'll tell you as a professional the conversation we
How
just
is
had.
Hassan such
I
a
said I am
dickhead when he
biased, I
doesn't
don't
need to
believe women
be?
drive,
He
that's
could just
my
be
personal
normal.
experience. I don't care if anyone
Jesus.
agrees.
Oh.
You came along and said, don't interrupt me. You came along and said, no, that's not true because of the evidence. I came and said, I don't care about the evidence, my personal experience. You said, I also have personal experiences and we're all biased. I agreed. Then you said, even if I had personal experiences that said X, I would ignore them because the internet told me to believe Y. I believe what I am told.
That's not what I said. I said
it's
that
over.
regardless of my own personal biases that I might have, evidence is still more important than my personal biases.
When you guys are both talking at once, you
And
can't
it's
hear anything.
boring, and you've lost, and it's boring. So let's just
Oh.
move on to the next subject.
Is that
'cause there's one
is that what
thing-
happens? You just say I'm boring and I lost, and then you win. Is that what it is?
Do a poll on the chat, and if you won, then we'll continue to talk it. But I'm sure you've lost, and it's boring.
Okay.
And it's
Do you want me to leave the conversation that desperately, Andrew? It seems like you're running away a little bit.
No, we're just going in a never-ending circle. Like,
Okay,
we're
yeah,
talking
we
about
can
the
move
same
on
thing.
from that. We can move on from the the importance of science and Andrew's personal biases. Andrew, can you tell me a little bit about the Hustlers University, whatever that is? Not in a promotional capacity. I know that like you're doing the rounds on Twitch, and I know that that's probably giving you a big boost. But I want to understand, you know, because you are a businessman. I want to understand how you generate revenue. Is it okay to get this information for free, or do I have to pay $50?
Notice how this debate hasn't gone anywhere, like at all. Like, there's no conclusion to this.
Them also joining Hustlers University.
It's just
You can find everything on the website.
nothing.
You can join if you want more information.
Nothing happened here.
So you don't want to
This
share
is
this
what
information for free
you know.
right
The
now. You don't
productive
wanna educate me
nature
on that.
of a Twitch
I wanna
debater
sit here
really
and
does.
Spend the next hour you trying to accuse me of some bullshit.
I'm not.
It's-
I'm not.
it's-
I'm here to learn, Andrew. You are a brilliant mind.
I'm
Maybe a little
here to
rattled.
learn.
Maybe a little rattled from
Yeah, Hassan's
the
biases
numerous
probably
concussions,
prevents
but
him from
brilliant
doing that.
nonetheless. So I want to hear more about your business strategy, if possible.
It's actually quite interesting that people who are too scared to get in the ring try and make fun of people who have bravery to try and make fun of.
No,
them.
I
Say,
do
"Oh,
think it's very brave.
brave."
I do think it's very brave.
Oh, all right. So let's not detract the bravery of men who do things you're afraid to do. That's the first thing. The
No.
second thing-
You are absolutely incredibly brave. You still might have CTE, but
If you
are
really
incredibly
think
brave.
that Hassan is
I
this little
appreciate it.
angel,
I mean,
that he
whatever,
doesn't do
it's
anything
fine.
wrong,
The point I'm trying to
or
make
he
is
doesn't
I know you
do
wanna sit
cheap
here and talk about
tactics,
MKQ and try and break
or
it
he's an
down
actual
and get a bunch of
debater, he's
notes,
actually
etc.
I have
a
no notes
philosopher.
whatsoever. I'm a dumbass. I don't know anything I'm talking
A
about.
great-
I'm simply here to learn from you.
Yo,
Great and
no,
unbiased
sarcastic shit.
journalism.
No, I'm
I don't know
literally,
what to tell
but
you.
that's the
Bro,
truth.
you're being so sarcastic though. Like, why are you being so sarcastic? Like,
I'm
what's
not.
the
I'm
conversation?
literally.
Bro, you
Oh,
just said,
come
like,
on,
10
come on,
years
come on,
Hassan
ago.
come on, come on.
continuously
I'm
just
asking
wants to make
questions.
fun of Andrew rather than make any constructive argument. he just
that I was the
basically
better
puts up,
Hassan.
you know, blank
That's
statements
agreed. I agree with that one.
that
If
maybe,
you could just
you know, middle schooler could
get
say,
out the call, maybe it would
a
fix
middle
the stream.
schooler could win a debate
Uh-huh.
with.
Would you
boring.
guys,
Because there
if
wasn't
you
a
guys would
debate.
like me to
Andrew
leave the call,
Tate,
I can do that. I don't want to
Hey,
be.
the entire
I gotta
time,
be- I
he
gotta
was
get back to
confused.
work.
He didn't know how
I do
to,
not want to be rude, boys.
you know,
this is
go
your
up
stream.
against this.
Andrew,
The reason
I'd
is
love
that
to
he's
talk to you
unexperienced
in
in
more
it.
detail if you'd like to.
Nets
I hope
doesn't
that one
say
day you
anything
can,
about someone's
educate me
intelligence.
on your revenue strategies.
That's,
I mean, it's
someone's
it does
unexperienced,
look
someone's
a
going to
little
be
bad, though, if you're
unexperienced.
like, if you
You
feel
can't
as though I
expect
should
someone
leave the
to,
call because
you
you feel
know,
like I'm
launch a
overpowering
rocket
you a little bit. Hey, if you like this video,
to
please
space
subscribe and hit that bell so you don't
and
miss
put
out
a
on any
probe in
future
Mars.
videos.
You just can't. Okay, that concludes that. So I hope you don't mod. I hope you're not aggressive. I hope this didn't antagonize you. Literally just hearing someone speak. I hope you doesn't entice you to violence. I don't know. There's a lot of weird stuff with people that are self-righteous. So the end of the video is right about now. Bye.